We'll start the regular meeting of the Capitalized Albany Corporation. First item on the agenda is a review of the minutes of the regular board meeting on October 22nd. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes, and then they have a motion? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. And with that, I will turn it over to.
So I did to start the meeting first on a little bit more of a somber note, but I did want to take a moment for the board to recognize the service of your fellow board member, President Rodriguez. Unfortunately, did receive his resignation letter due to obligations at the University of Albany. His resignation will be effective January 1, 2025. So I believe this could be his last board of directors meeting at Capitalized Albany, but I'm sure you'll see him around in all of his other endeavors. And we did, give a nice little note.
Yes, thank you so much.
I object.
I second.
Thank you. You have, I think it's 7 years on the board with us, and your feedback has always been helpful, and I always appreciate your involvement in the board.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Before I leave, I will leave a gift for everybody, which is the University of Albany Economic Impact Analysis.
Yeah.
2024.
All right.
$1.1 billion a year, so not too bad.
We do what we can.
Yeah, right.
That news far and wide. We can use good, positive storytelling about the city of Albany and the Capital District. Going along those lines, you have in front of you all have our annual report for 2024. It is available in hard copy. It's also available digitally. We have worked with a designer, Aaron Ryan, for the past several years. He does amazing work. And we have also had a number of professional photographers that have contributed to some of the work that's in here. Fred Coffey has provided some photos of the Livingston Rail Bridge and Clinton Market Collective through the city. And he has provided photos of Clinton Market Collective. Her team have provided that for us. Hope you like what you see and share far and wide. Available on our website. We also have Aaron provided us some social media images that we can provide and kind of roll out over the next year end to try to get the word out about the momentum.
Hey, Ashley, is it possible to get, I'm sure you have these PowerPoint slides that are nice summaries of different themes that we might have from an economic development perspective, because from time to time I'm giving presentations. It's great if I have a slide or two to drop in, like a slide on our DRI proposal, for example. If that gets funded, that would be great. Drop it in, and then I don't know if you have a portfolio of PowerPoint slides, things like that available, or.
Yeah, some of them come from the board meetings, or we had slides from the annual meeting.
And community meetings and stuff, yeah.
So
okay.
We certainly always reach out.
Reach out when we need it, okay.
If not, we could provide something. Many times for the state funding sources, we'll do presentations for the DRI, for something like the URI, so we'll have, sort of a collaboration of what that would be. And depending on what it's for, it may or may not be stylistically what you're looking for, but you might have data that you'd be looking for it.
Okay.
I gave back the clicker because I don't think it works this far away from the materials, but starting out, we did want to just do our year-end corporate performance report. So we're starting with business development. on the business development front, from 2016, Capitalized Albany has made more than $2.4 million in awards to small businesses and nonprofits in the city. And we have served nearly 200 unique businesses and organizations over that same time frame. In 2024, we continued to operate our 4 grant programs, both citywide and neighborhood-specific grant funding allocations. With that, more than $200,000 in new grant funding has been awarded in 2024, and we've paid out an additional $160,000 in grant funding from prior year awardees. As I said at the annual meeting, it's important to get the money out the door too. It's not just about awards, so pushing both of those out. We also expanded the boundaries for the neighborhood retail grant program and have been marketing that. We've had a number of folks interested in that, and we're hopeful for that to see similar success as the downtown retail grant as we have more flexibility now to provide grants in the additional areas. And then also with business development, I think we can move the slide. We have completed more than $20,000 in Amplify Albany Awards. You see some examples on the slide here. Actually, this is one example. This is the Albany Center Gallery Summer Arts Fest. This was the inaugural iteration of this Arts Fest down at Quackenbush Square. They anticipate being able to continue that into the future. Fantastic opportunity, a good showing of people. You see a quote there. About 20 regional artists representing 13 organizations and creative businesses. They had live painting. They completed large-scale works that we displayed at our Clinton Market Collective opening. Really great opportunity. And then we've been able to do things like multiple Juneteenth events, Capital District African Heritage Parade, and the Juneteenth Festival down in South Pearl, all with that Amplified Albany funding. And it really provides critical resources to these smaller nonprofits and be able to have them do some cooler events or to make them bigger than they might have been able to previously do without that funding. So I think with that, that jumps into real estate next, and I'll kick it to Andy for that briefly.
Sure, thank you. At the IDA level, despite the kind of difficult economic environment, the IDA closed on, or approved, I should say, 6 projects. The headline being 4 of those 6 are purpose-built affordable housing projects, equating to 435 units of housing. The other 2 projects were an industrial project and a market rate project with 12 apartments in it. So we are seeing that trend. We expect to see that trend continue into next year with the majority of projects in the IDA pipeline being reliant upon low-income housing tax credits, with market rate projects dried up for the time being. So keep our eye.
And I'll just add some of the relevant figures from the slide. Over 1,890 units of affordable housing have been built in the last decade in the city. So while there is more to do, there is a significant number of units that have been built, and that is the only thing in our development pipeline to date. And so that's what we're seeing the most momentum with. Even with that, we have $350 million worth of investment under construction. And looking positive to the future, I think we're optimistic that there will be movement on maybe legislative changes that could improve the outcomes in the city moving forward. And then I think the final slide, this shows just some of the beautiful outcomes of the developments here. Gallery and Holland Industry Apartments, the Rise at Midtown Square. Just wrapping up, I think Ryan gave us an update last week at CADA with most of the retail spaces are full.
Yes, in the Rise in Midtown Square, directly across the street from St. Peter's Hospital, they have a Starbucks, a florist, and a restaurant that will be owned by the developer himself that will be opening soon. So they're tendering out very well and quickly.
So I'm a little slow on the back of the slide. Are we expressing our concern to the appropriate people about the lack of non-affordable housing projects loud and clear so that hopefully we do get those changes that you're referring to.
Yeah, we have been working with the mayor's office to provide them the data on that so that they have the background to support that. She asks us, very, very frequently and planning, you know, what's the status? What do you have? And the answer is nothing.
Well,
Well,
and she gets it, I mean,
yeah.
but I'm wondering at some point to consider, and should we do a press release? Should we say something? This is a huge issue. And again, and this, when we're looking at economic development, but you can't develop a city if all that you are attracting, is low income. I think that actually deters, as you guys know. So I think at some point we have to make our voice heard, because it is a spiral that we're in that doesn't end well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a backlog at this point, right? If projects aren't starting now, we are, as Andy says quite frequently, we are multiple years down the road from, you know, playing catch up where we need to be in terms of unit counts. As we talked last night about the numbers that we can support and what we're not generating.
Right. And I think we heard from the governor last night that that's not how she sees things, and she would like that to be turned around, as quickly as possible, so I think we can try to seize that momentum and see if we can, build.
Yeah, we definitely have to ride that line of like, we're not unsupportive of affordable housing. We actually, in fact, support hundreds and hundreds of units of affordable housing. It's just that there is a need across the board for all levels of affordability to be built, and there's a market for all of that, and one doesn't preclude the other. So
Right.
making sure to relay that message in the way that makes sense for our organization and doesn't make us look like we're anti anything.
Right.
I mean, what about a letter to the city council from, and there's gotta be other organizations just expressing their concern that there's been no proposals since this legislative change.
It's been challenging, I think, getting the development community to come out and help support us with it. So-
Right, but what about the
That's
idea
what
of
we
meeting?
should, that's what I'm saying, that's what we should. Be
Yeah.
the one to come out and do that. You know, even if we were to ask them to, sponsor, you know, not drawing a conclusion, but asking them to sponsor the review of the impact of the change. Right, and we know what the impact of the change is, but we can bring somebody in and say, hey, this is what the change was, and this is what's happened ever since, so. You know, not drawing the conclusion until somebody else, you know, drops the piano on it.
Yeah.
But I understand why a developer can't do it, but, we may be the one that needs to do that.
Yeah. And I think the city also did provide a vacancy study recently, but I think the common council plans on doing their own study or had talked about potentially commissioning a further study, so, yeah, good conversation. I think the last slide here is just related to Liberty Park, showing that while we had completed site assemblage previously on the previous footprint for Liberty Park, we had done that in 2023, adding 34 Hamilton to the mix adds that additional 1.2 acres and really allows us to optimize that full footprint of that redevelopment. And obviously litigation continues on evaluation, but really huge accomplishment. This is the only organization that has gotten this far, and thanks to the state for all of the resources that have been able to contribute to that. And we look forward to future development on this site. Whatever it may hold. Talk a little bit more about that in the session. Strategy-driven investment on the strategy side. We focused this year on wrapping up Clinton Market Collective and bringing that project to construction completion. So if you go to the next slide. We also, with that project, Livingston Rail Bridge, their completion was around the same time frame. And so at this point, the Clinton Square downtown revitalization is substantially complete. in terms of the projects that were in the project list. Additionally, the DRI in that area catalyzed an additional $100 million in investment on surrounding properties that weren't supported with DRI resources. So while a $10 million award may not seem like enough sometimes, and it can make a huge impact in terms of the momentum and the waves that it creates. And this slide just shows the grand opening where we had Boozy Moon providing non-alcoholic ice cream and Nine Pin Cider providing cider, and all these center galleries showcasing some of the work from the Summer Art Fest. And kids came and enjoyed the inaugural launch of the Pop Jet fountains. We have had multiple events at Clinton Market over the fall. It is now winterized in terms of the Pop Jets and things are closed for the season. It's still technically available for rent in pop-ups and things like that. We have available listings on our website. I think the pipeline's a little slower because of the weather, but we have we have an RFP that we launched on market operator, and we're in active conversations with a respondent trying to drill that down. And we hope to be back at the board or at least the finance committee later in early 2025 with that conversation.
One respondent.
At this point, one respondent.
Did you say non-alcoholic ice cream?
Yeah.
Nobody's.
So the norm is alcohol. Right.
Why aren't we having that at breakfast?
It's that was her pandemic-based business that she launched, and she's seen great success with it. We always love being able to support those businesses as well as Nine Pin, which was also non-alcoholic because it was during the workday. We're very serious about our that. Even though everybody picked on us for it. We wrapped up Clinton Square DRI. We were able to use that in talking about the South Pearl DRI to basically say, look how good we have done with the Clinton Square downtown revitalization. Look how much better we have done. I hate to say this in an open session, but regions have struggled with getting projects done for downtown revitalization initiative activities. And that has not been our case. We have had challenges, but with the teams that we've had, with the development teams that we've had, we've been able to work our way through those challenges because we just, we have the staffing, we have the capacity, we have the ability to do and work through. We have a great board that is able to supplement resources in terms of the Clinton market and get it to the finish line. So when we put forward the South Pearl DRI this year for the third time for the city, we were able to have the strongest argument there in terms of capacity. And we're optimistic that something will shake free in terms of the South Pearl Downtown Revitalization Initiative. As you see here, over the last 3 years, more than 300 participants in DRI and related efforts. We have 5+ opportunity sites in the district with site control. The potential project pipeline, which is just the list that was generated for ideas and to show that there's investment to be made in that district, shows 40 million+ in potential investment in 12 projects at this point. A variety of real estate development, park and green space type projects, small business assistance programs, marketing program, streetscape, really a whole gamut of that. Those grant applications are not an insignificant effort, and so, we really would like to see that come to fruition at some point in the near future, hopefully this year. So looking forward to that. And then I think that wraps up 2024, busy year of real estate, business, and strategic development across the board, with a majority new-ish staff, I would add. So only bigger and better things to come as people, grow in their roles and gain expertise, and I really, think things will be.
All right, great job. On to the report of the governance committee, John.
So, in terms of review of potential board appointments, so we have a vacancy. We started looking at some individuals. But again, having been through this a few times before, if you know of people who would make good candidates, shoot their names over to Ashley. We're not in a rush to replace Havan. We're not gonna be able to replace him, but we're certainly gonna try and get somebody else new to sit in the chair. I don't know if Ashley, if you wanted to talk any more about that on your own, but
No, I think at this time, more updates on that, but as John said, we spent folks our way. I think, we have a pool of folks that we've looked at, but we would love to see some new names, better, even more variety in terms of representation and,
typically what'll happen is if we start to focus on someone, we'll send Anders or Heather or Michael Castellano out to meet with them, take their temperature, see, how motivated they are, how excited they are about Albany. And ideally, we have a broad subset of talented people here from different backgrounds, different institutions. SUNY is a major player in the city, as Havan's economic development impact report shows. So, I mean, getting someone from SUNY, whether it's SUNY Central or SUNY Albany, is probably a priority.
And there's just one opening.
We can change the we could change our bylaws to add people if we need to.
For our recent resolution, we brought it down to 14. So currently there would only be one vacancy as of January 1, but our bylaws originally had 16.
Okay.
Moving on to I guess we have a resolution in front of us. Should I take this, Tom, or can you?
Yeah, well, give me 1 second. Ashley, do you want to talk about the TBD or? I'll just do it.
So TBD, yeah, it's town reference, there's a TBD on the board. And something that we have talked through in governance is a nomination for Andy Corfione to be nominated for vice president for Capitalized Albany. I think Andy has demonstrated over his more than 10 years of service with Capitalized Albany and how much he's grown over recent years as well and stepped up in times of need, especially over this last year. His experience, his expertise, and his input has been invaluable to me in helping to lead the organization and get us through 2024. And I think would be pivotal in moving forward for the organization. So that is what we have talked through at governance.
Yeah, I just added that. So governance committee reviewed that proposal, discussed it, and recommended it to the board. So the slate of officers that you see being proposed today and recommended by the governance board is what you see before you. Anders as chair, Heather as vice chair, John as treasurer, John Vero as secretary, obviously Ashley as the president, and then Andy Corfione as vice president. So if the board would like to move forward with that slate, this resolution recognizes the results of a series of elections that I will now guide you through. But the first one would be for the chairperson of the board And the governance committee recommends Andrew Thompson. If I could get a first and a second.
I'll make a motion that,
Can you move the slate, Tom?
I can, I'd like to do it this way, just because the people here are up there on the screen. So I'd like to do that, and then we'll reflect that those people don't vote for their respective, for Anders, it's easy, he's not here.
But they do have the right to vote.
They do. We traditionally, Michael, in many of the things we've done here have taken an over the hill sort of view on conflicts, as you know.
Yeah,
And so that's that, so, in any event, we have a first and a second, all in favor of Anders?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, great. Then next, if I could have a first and second for the vice chair for Heather Mulligan.
second.
Okay, we have first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great, passes, Heather's abstaining. And now the next one is for the treasurer, if I could have first and a second for John Harris.
Second.
Okay, Heather and Anthony, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, and we'll reflect that John's getting coffee and not voting.
Well timed, well timed.
If I could get a first and second for John Vero to be named to the elected secretary.
Second.
Tanya and John, great, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, John Bureau's no, and I have a first and a second for Ashley Mole to be elected president. First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. And then Aaron Corsione to be elected vice president, first and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we've got first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, and so the resolution will reflect the results of those elections. Thank you.
Can we at least tell Andrew that it wasn't unanimous? I didn't go back to the
Yeah, it's always a fun committee. We also went through, the conflict of interest disclosure forms. There's a summary in your packet. Essentially, I believe, do we have to essentially approve this?
The committee approved the conflict, so the committee did that.
So the committee did approve it. We did that. Okay. The board does not have to.
Right.
Okay.
This input is based on the forms that the board members submitted here, so just please check, make sure it's accurate. And then there's a report, we won't go through the time of reading it, but it is in your package. It just goes through each of the disclosures that were made on the form. And, if one of those matters were to come up, the approach is just to, disclose again, affirmatively disclose it, and then you would just defeat yourself from that discussion or deliberation and voting. So,
I think from the governance committee standpoint, there are obviously conflicts that are gonna occur. None of the conflicts rise to the level of where we are saying this board member can't serve because of X, Y, and Z conflicts. So, from that standpoint, we've looked at them, we've approved them. And as Tom mentioned, this is a snapshot in time. It's our obligation as board members to disclose and recuse as new conflicts arise, continues on into the next year. The board member training status, I don't have anything in front of me. I don't know if you guys have it. I do know, because I participated, that multiple board members, updated their ABO training.
Yeah, I believe we put the memo in last month's packet, so we didn't reiterate it, but we did have a number of members refresh it. As a reminder, everybody is in compliance at this point. I think there was a number of new members that, needed to do their first training, but they were within their 12-month window. And then a group of 3 or 4 have just recently done it. So, I think at this point, probably the majority of members are within the 3-year ABO recommended training status, or close
to that, as well, and then a number of others within a 5-year period.
If I could just add, if you can please just send me your confirmation from them, from the ABL when you receive it, several of you have, because they don't automatically send it to us.
If Maria is CC'd when you sign up, they will tend to CC folks on the confirmation, but we just want to make sure that that happens, so report that. And then Maria has been asked by governance committee to continue to follow up with friendly reminders of the monthly dates. Trying to be friendly. They only provide monthly training dates, so like typically 2 per month. So as each monthly dates come out, Maria will produce an email and send them out to folks who haven't refreshed them for years.
I think the next item we took on at governance was the review of the confidential board evaluation forms. That's page 22 of your packet. Short of it here is there are a couple of instances where board members essentially said they somewhat agree with the statement that's put forth in the form. And we get that. All I can say is that to the extent that you have any concerns about any of these criteria that are listed, this form is an ABO required form. We didn't produce it. But, you know, to the extent if someone doesn't comprehend their role and fiduciary responsibility, please ask, talk to Tom, talk to the governance committee. We can help. Same goes for any of the items on the chart where you might have some concerns or maybe just need a little more background before you could hit the I agree completely button. But you know, all in all, this is a pretty good indication that we're doing something right here. So.
Yeah, it's overwhelmingly positive. We would love to see everything in the far left agree column, obviously. And so a recommendation of governance committee was for staff to maybe edit the form to the extent to allow folks to provide some sort of commentary if they didn't fully agree, to provide a little bit more color commentary to at least the governance committee. This template without the commentary is the ABO recommended template, so we may just modify just to add a space or something so folks feel comfortable sharing a little bit more feedback that we can have more fodder to discuss with the committee in terms of what was really behind that and what can we address moving forward. Is there something to address moving forward?
And then finally, under this 3A, we had the review of the governance committee self-evaluation. There's page 23 of your packet. Essentially lists what we did this year. Most of it's required by the ABO, but you know, you can take a look at that and see that we were quite busy in December. And then moving on to the corporate performance review, and Ashley essentially kicked this off with her earlier report of the executive staff in the year-end corporate performance report. It hits a lot of the highlights of our 2024 performance measurements. Ashley, I don't know if you want to walk through this one or.
Sure. So there's major, yeah.
I think it's
24.
There was a lengthy memo. These goals, the overarching goals are approved at the board level, as you know, annually. So the things that are under the bulleted are the bullet points, like implement the recommendation of the board's economic development strategies. Those are the goals that the board approves by resolution each year. And then underneath those, Capitalize Albany has selected a number of accomplishments for 2 proposed. So you'll see those on here, and as John said, you know, pretty similar to the year-end performance report that Andy and I did. More than 440 units received assistance from Capitalize Albany in 2024. That was 5 projects. We are looking at more than 95% of business awards made to the stress census tracts or City of Albany defining neighborhood strategy areas. 96% dispersed within those same areas. On the job fronts, high in construction jobs, more than 480 temporary jobs, more than 30 permanent. And then you'll see us walk through some of the regional council initiatives related to Restore New York, being able to help Hope Development achieve an award through the city through Restore New York for principal apartments. Being able to bring projects to a close, the Clinton Market, work through Liberty Park funding for purchase of properties. And then I will note that in the governance committee discussion, we did have a suggestion to have a performance indicator added that wasn't previously there. That is number 2 under the implement the board's economic development strategies. The number of activities or projects performed or assisted by Capitalized Albany related to the Liberty Park development site. So that's new for 2024 because it was recognized by the committee that that is a significant amount of both time and energy spent related to litigation, disposition, acquisition, managing properties, the whole kit and caboodle. And so while these 2 statements don't necessarily represent all of that, at least gives us some metrics to report on for that. And then in looking forward to 2025, the resolution does have a revision to enable Liberty Park to be included as one of the top end goals.
So, any questions on? Well, we spent a lot of time walking through each of the performance metrics. The housing, we've already talked about housing. Market rate housing is going to be an issue. On the one hand, we had a downtown residential initiative. We were making loans all the time because projects needed that money to make their developments work. Then the market kind of took over and they were able to build projects without us, which was great. But now it's completely dried up. So it's an issue, and that pipeline disappearing is a problem. If nobody has questions, I think we'll move on to the 2025.
We do submit this report as part of the Paris reporting, the annual reporting for the year. So if this report is approved today, that's the version that will go to Paris. And one additional adjustment that I failed to mention was I made a minor correction to acreage in terms of the 34 Hamilton site. It was an adjustment from governance committee to today. I had overstated the acreage, and so I just wanted to make sure that that was accurate for the final version.
To vote on anything here or just?
There will be for 25.
For 20.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we have a resolution in front of us for 2025. It's the page 27. Essentially, as Ashley mentioned, the only thing that we really did here was to call out Liberty Park as it's a separate category, separate criteria for us to review come next, year end 2025, knowing that Liberty Park is becoming such an important part of what we're going to be doing, and that we want staff to be devoting resources to it. We felt it was important to have that as a separate standalone category. That being said, maybe we get a motion on.
Yeah, so there's a draft resolution 16/2024. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right.
And that resolution does have a restatement of the mission and the tax.
And if it's okay with the board, I think we move the next item to, the end of the meeting, maybe executive session. With that, I think, governance is completed.
You're fighting with finance committee for the hardest working. And then I think with that, we'll move into report of the finance and investment committee. John, I'll give you a little bit of a break, even though you chaired that, and we'll jump straight into Andy.
That works for me.
Investment.
Sure, thank you. In advance of a more comprehensive year-end, presentation for next year, they requested that I share some interim economic commentary and provide performance on portfolio. Economy is slowing, but still growing, so we're hopeful that the recession is unlikely. Inflation is moderating, going down towards the Fed's 2% target, although maybe more than expected. Path forward is likely to be more rate cuts, but the exact number and timing will be reduced. They are expecting a 25% shortage. The equity market forecast for 25 single-digit returns, without performance coming from the recent seven. And given the market, as of November 30th, the portfolio, approximately $6 million in market value, remains fully compliant around its specs. Reserve portfolio returns, year to date to November, 6%. Liquidity return 4.7. Again, these are gross of fees performance values. We are working to create some more robust performance metrics. That's kind of an iterative process. So when we have Great Point in front of us early next year, I'm happy to share that we'll be able to provide both asset class, security, selection, performance metrics more.
I'm sorry, you said
Sorry, I was kind of a few state there. So there was
I thought you said six.
$6 million in overall value.
Oh, I thought you said 6%, I'm sorry.
6% was the reserve portfolio
Okay.
return through November.
Because the markets are, as we know, the markets are up by 26%.
I think that's probably a function of the composition of the portfolio. The
So
equities are
you're creating
constrained.
an index for us.
We are.
Okay. That's
So
fine.
we'll be able to crosswalk performance market benchmarks as they occur and portfolio performance relative to benchmarks, fully documented under performance based on asset class and individual.
Thank you.
Quick question as well, to follow, is that quarter today was 6 million? I don't know. November 30th, it's showing 4 on this document, but I might be looking at the wrong.
So
page.
there's two, so the deck you have in your presentation is a summary slide, so the two portfolios, reserve and liquidity, so the aggregate value is approximately.
And we did also, we had put funding into this portfolio from, the prior enterprise program that we got, sort of clearance from Empire State Development tenderly to be able to, move those funds and use them for mission-based operations. So those moved into, the investment account, and then for the 34 Hamilton transaction, about an additional 1.4 came out, to purchase that property.
So to Ashley's comment, we did make a $700,000 T-bill purchase to supplement the 34 Hamilton transaction. So that was transacted late Q3, liquidated early Q4 to fund the 1.46 million outflow on November 17th. Those are the main events in the second half of the year. But we look forward to kind of increasing the kind of quality of performance reporting for the investment portfolio early next year. Operationally, our project in economic development on the first floor, we did execute a lease extension for the downtown business improvement district on December 3rd. 1 month extension through January 31st. 5-day prior notice if there is a need for a subsequent tenancy. The rate as currently exists, but there are provisions, CPI related, for monthly increases should their stay, remain longer than the end of January. So we are watching it. We're happy to report that we are still fully tenanted.
It's an expectation that they're gonna leave.
They, sent us, the executive director sent us a letter, I think midsummer maybe, saying that they, did not plan on renewing, their lease. Subsequently, we, came to find out that they were planning on moving into Granite House on the station. And so that is still, as far as we know, the plan. They think things, they needed a little bit more time.
The base renewal is separate, so to avoid the full year commitment. we would execute termination of the summer, but, yeah, we're happy to be able to show that we're something technically, and, probably easier to find a tenant in, late spring, early summer than it would be in February, so we're only too happy to execute that session.
Are we getting a premium because it's a month to month, or is it just one?
The initial. If it's become anything more than a courtesy, we are prepared to accept a nominal increase.
Okay, have you had any responses to the CPA actively sought out tenants or not?
We have not actively listed the building at this point. Operationally, I think we would like to see the space vacated. There's a lot of things in the building. I don't want to air our dirty laundry, but there's a lot of stuff stored in this building. We would like to take stock of what is here and what is the downtown goods and what is ours, and like clean house, see what updates need to be made after they move out, and then try to re-tenant as planned. But we'd like to be able to see if there's any upgrades that need to be made in the meantime to.
Is there an effort to try to keep the bid here?
There has not been, they stated, their intention,
So I think it's good we just know as a board, how they came to be there. You know, that, it was years ago, but the intention was to bring the collaboration between Capitalize Albany and their closest group downtown and the other bids to work in unison or better. I'm not sure how any of that followed or didn't, but this clearly puts us on a different path than the original intention.
yeah, I think the intention had, it had great purposes behind it. I don't know if it executed as well as it had planned. And so I think we'll work pretty similarly with them, having them not be fully located, and they needed more space. They were bursting at the seams. They had two people in the downstairs, like reception area sitting facing each other. And there wasn't really a way we could accommodate much more space for them with also our staff. So it was challenging for them, I think, operationally. They do have, with their events and things, a lot of things they need to store, so storage was an issue too. So I will say prior management did work with them on trying to get additional space. Like there has been conversations historically to try to keep them happy and keep them here. But when the request came in that they were terminating, I think the decision had been made.
Great. The next item on the agenda is the professional service agreement. I don't know who's, yeah.
So we have 2 minutes, no changes for 2025. We're coming to review and current reasons for our committees. Services agreements. Projections, we're not including 632,000 remain the same. Each day was examining to ensure you're not aligned with service provided. And this function like year. It's important to note that I think staff effort typically remains constant, and spikes with volume, but there is a certain de minimis level of reporting, maintenance, regardless of pipeline activity. So then this is, kind of a whole new 2024, new grant, which is not found. That's
No, there's two resolutions, each separate. Yeah, so we would do a first and a second. And the only nuance on these is because the staff is common on both entities, the chairperson signs these contracts on capitalized all this behalf.
Okay, so the first resolution is 19-2024. And this is, the professional economic development management and administrative support services, with, the IDA and the CRC. Can I have the motion?
Second, and Tony Gaddy's standing as well.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. And then the second resolution is 20-2024. And this is, economic development, Capitalize Albany Corporation, is accepting economic funds to support economic development from the city of Albany IDA and in support of the corporation's mission. I would entertain a motion on this as well.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll note the same refusal.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, both motions, both resolutions are adopted. And then we do have another resolution, but do we need to have an explanation?
So the last resolution in this group at least, is related, to the Clinton Market Collective. And so just a little bit of general background on the Empire State Development process. So Empire State Development typically approves an award or an incentive proposal at the beginning of the project, but they do not execute on the grant disbursement agreement at the beginning of the process. It was a little bit different, you might remember, for Liberty Park. And so Clinton Market is following the standard, procedures where we have completed the project, we have completed construction, and we have a draft grant disbursement agreement in the packet that the staff has provided us. The ESD offices did hold a public hearing last Friday on this project. And then the next steps will be Public Authorities Control Board approval, and then a final draft of this, which we would envision would look identical to this draft, will come back to us for execution. And so at this point, we are just asking the board to authorize me to negotiate and execute that final final grant disbursement agreement once it's received for the $750,000 in resources.
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
You have the authority.
Okay, and we'll just note here, that on the Clinton Market Collective front, National Grid, was amazingly fast, in terms of reimbursement, and so we got our $250,000 grant from National Grid, before the 2024 closeout of the year, which we had budgeted for it in 2025, but they just wowed us with their release of the funds, did vet it thoroughly and everything, but super quick. And so we have that in hand now.
Very good partner.
And we continue to work through Department of State, we're through everything but the last.
The last two, so $160,000 for the state.
Closing it out, getting through all the reimbursements, and we'll be done.
All right, last thing is the Liberty Park update.
We'll do the executive session with this one. Yeah. I think we'll do it all at the same time, the executive session. So is there anything in public that you want to say on Liberty Park before we do that? No. Yeah, so if we'd like to get a motion to go into executive session, first and second, the reasons would be twofold. Would be the potential disposition of real estate, the publicity of which would significantly affect its value. And we're talking specifically about Liberty And then the second reason would be to discuss the employment history of individuals. So those are the two reasons.
Second.
All in favor?
Right. Move to the executive.
Second.
Aye. Okay, we are out of executive session.
And no actions were taken during executive session. I would like to try and get resolution 17/2024 before the board to be considered. The one change in the board packet is that, in the resolve clause, it basically, the corporation's board of directors find it's reasonable that the chair set the president's salary, up to the 50th percentile, and finds it reasonable that the president sets not other officer salaries up to the 50th percentile. And that's the only change.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.